market entry level, noting that Article 55 of the Constitution obligates the state to take measures to ensure that the youth access employment, concerned that this access is hindered by the requirement to produce numerous documentation, including tax compliance certificate, KRA, certificate of good conduct, that is DCI, higher education load clearance certificate, HELP, EACC clearance, credit reference certificate, CRB, further concerned that the documents cost not less than 4,500 shillings to acquire, deeply concerned that most of the job seekers in the youth bracket cannot raise this prohibitive amount to purpose of job application. This House urges the government through the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs to waive the payment of these fees by job-seeking youth in the country, and further urges the ministry to immediately fast-track implementation of the National Employment Authority Act, which requires the establishment and maintenance of integrated and up-to-date database of all persons seeking employment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order number 7, statements. None.
Other members had indicated earlier that I have a short communication to make. This is regarding what is known as post-election seminar. In keeping with the practice, at the start of every new parliament, the National Assembly, in conjunction with the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, CPA, has organized a 3-day post-election seminar for members of the National Assembly. The theme of the seminar is, and I quote, sharing our experiences to enhance good governance and continually safeguard the welfare of the nation, close the quotes. The seminar, which is a follow-up to the induction workshop held in Nairobi in September 2017, after the swearing in of members of this House, is scheduled to be held in Mombasa County from 4th March 2018 to Thursday, 8th March 2018, at a venue to be confirmed in due course. The seminar will offer members an opportunity to interact and share experiences with resource persons from other legislative jurisdictions within and outside of the Commonwealth, particularly Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, Zambia, and indeed our own experts in various disciplines. It will also offer an avenue to continue the debates from the recent induction workshops, as well as the open experiences in the House so far. Honourable members, it is my pleasure and indeed honor to invite each and every one of you to the seminar in order for everybody to be able to share their own experiences so far on matters particularly to do with good governance and collectively safeguarding the welfare of our nation. In order to facilitate proper planning, all members are requested to register their preferred times of travel with the Office of the Clerk by filling out a prescribed form at the main reception between now and end of next week. I thank you.
Order number 8, motion, adoption of sessional paper number 3 of 2017 on the national policy on climate finance. Climate finance.
This is an intervention. Yes, Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to draw to your attention that as per the resolution of the House Business Committee yesterday, that we were supposed to submit names of the Parliamentary Service Commission as today noon. So, Mr. Speaker, the minority leader will expound on it, but after consultations, the biggest party in the country, ODM, has a National Executive Committee meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. The matter will be discussed. Then we are taking it to the National Governing Council on Friday, Mr. Speaker. Then after that, Mr. Speaker, we are requesting if we can submit our names on Tuesday to you with your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, it's very unfortunate that the nominee for Wipers went the names together with the Jubilee, Mr. Speaker. It was a bit better if it had come with ours, Mr. Speaker. But now that it has gone with the Jubilee, we say God help them, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Did you say that the nominee has gone to bed? You say he has gone to bed, eh?
Eh?
You say they have gone to bed.
No, it is, it was like, Mr. Speaker, when the majority leader tabled the nominee for Wiper together with Jubilee, it was like mixing sheep and goat, Mr. Speaker. So I'm wondering how they are going to move together forward. We are waiting to see, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Bandi, you want to also address the same issue? Is that the reason why your intervention is there?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with my whip that actually we will have a meeting tomorrow to deliberate on this matter, as we did discuss in the House Business Committee. But, Mr. Speaker, it may not even take that long up to Tuesday. Actually, I think once we are done with our consultations tomorrow in the NEC, and we are doing this, Mr. Speaker, in light with what transpired yesterday, that we probably needed more information to authenticate the nominations, and we are going to do that. But, Mr. Speaker, I didn't want to really talk about this issue of Wiper. Probably it is a matter that the coalition must look into. So serious, as the leader of minority, I've actually raised this matter with the leadership of NASA at the level of summit. Now, this is a very serious matter. Having Wiper nominee going through the Jubilee direction, Mr. Speaker, to reach this house is something that really cannot be taken easily. It cannot be taken easily. You can even hear the shouts from the other side. When you want to know the owner of a dog, you touch the dog and you will see the owners coming out. So, Mr. Speaker, the owner of this dog is clearly coming out, because really I'm the leader of minority in this parliament, in this National Assembly. And anyone expected that the list for any member from NASA coalition should have actually been brought in a way that is acceptable to the leadership of NASA coalition. But the way this name has been bulldozed, my friend Momanyi, I know he will be in the commission, because with the tyranny this side, definitely he will go through. But I just want to advise him that probably really needs to look at where he belongs. Because when you see Jubilee cheering you, they may be cheering you to the slaughterhouse. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, leader majority.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't want to stand, but I need to make correction and go into the Hansard. Of course, I understand the frustration of the minority leader and the minority whip. And they're coming to tell the House when their party is meeting. And Mr. Speaker, the largest political party in the country is Jubilee, with 170 members, followed by ODM, followed by Wiper, followed by ANC, followed by Ford Kenya, and the rest follow that. That is the record, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, you chaired a meeting last night of the House Business Committee, and following the Constitution and the standing orders, you confirmed, as per the law, the supreme law of the land, that one party, Wiper, has a slot in the Parliamentary Service Commission. That is not in dispute. Mr. Speaker, it is very, very sad that, you know, the arrogance of ODM is calling a whole party a dog. Speaker, this is not the leadership, Honorable Bandi, and I'm sure, I hope because he's saying if you want to know the owner of the dog, so the dog in this reference is Wiper. The owner can be a rich bourgeois like Jubilee. So the derogatory term was used on Wiper. And Mr. Speaker, the leader of Wiper was the running mate of his party leader. And they introduced, Mr. Speaker, that's a new member. You need to learn the rest. You need to, it's the Speaker who gave me the chance. If you want to speak, you can speak. But Mr. Speaker, the House Business Committee gave Honorable Bandi and Honorable Junet and Honorable Makali Mbulu, who represented the minority in the House Business Committee, until 11 this morning to put their house in order. Speaker, they could not, and at 12:30 p.m., as you directed, I came and gave notice of motion for one Ben Momanyi. Speaker, whether you have your next Friday, whether you have next year, whether you have it tonight, is none of the business of this House. This House cannot be taken for hostage. We waited for too long. Speaker, tomorrow afternoon, we want to give you 5 members, if the House agrees with me, so that we have welfare issues we want to be discussed. We cannot be a hostage of one party who wants to dominate and abuse and, you know, talk in arrogance. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Bandi, you are the second minority leader under the new constitution, following the demise of our late brother, Honorable Nyenze. You need to learn from how Honorable Jakoyo and Nyenze and Honorable Chris Wamalwa ran the affairs of the minority in last parliament. Yes. Wiper is here to stay. They have over 20 plus members of parliament. They are 5%, they have qualified for the 5% of the House. Whether you like it or not, until 2022, Wiper will be with you here, whether you call them dogs or not. So, Mr. Speaker, let us discuss the serious matter of the House. Your orders and the orders of the House Business Committee have been complied with. Ben Momanyi is not a surrogate member of parliament. He is a member of parliament by right. And any one of us here can be a member of the PSC. There are no sacred cows. There is no animal farm here in this House, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Kainan is equal like any other member of Jubilee. So whether you like it or not, Ben Momanyi's fate lies with this House tomorrow afternoon. It doesn't lie with the Jubilee, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we need to move. We give our colleagues to go do their neck. Their parliamentary group meeting. They can consult Baba. They can consult the whole rank and file of ODM. But ultimately, you need to give us 2 names, which I have no problem as the leader of majority. I am going to diligently give notice of motion. And please, the earlier the better you give us a name. And there are men and women in your party who are qualified, who are educated. Don't segregate, don't discriminate your membership. They supported you, they campaigned for you. Why are they becoming dogs now? Speaker, I beg to see that we move to something better.
Honourable members, I didn't think that this was going to be a big debate. I can say the Honourable Makali Mulu is agitated because he says his name has been mentioned. Yes, it's only fair that we give you a chance.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. In terms of our constitution, a party becomes a part of this House if it has more than 5% representation in this House. And Mr. Speaker, Wiper has more than 5%. And when you look at the requirement of who should communicate to this House in terms of commissioners, it is a political party. And Wiper is a political party. So, Mr. Speaker, I take offense when I hear leaders, and I have a lot of respect to our leaders in the coalition, but there has been a tendency, Mr. Speaker, where honorable members in this House who have only served 1 term or 2 terms end up abusing the party leader for Wiper. He has been in this House for 28 years, Mr. Speaker, and I think we need to respect him. Mr. Speaker, we don't have any angel in this coalition, and some of us never abuse other leaders. They will never abuse because we respect our leaders. And we are not going to take it lightly, Mr. Speaker, as a Wiper House, to see our leader being abused every day by even people who have not been defended their position even once and won. Mr. Speaker, I plead for respect for Wiper. We respect all our partners. We demand respect. And if we are not respected, Mr. Speaker, we have the capacity also to abuse. We have the capacity, Mr. Speaker, to say all the things being said against Wiper. So not let anybody undermine a Wiper, and in terms of membership, we are up to the task, Mr. Speaker. We are up to the task. And I want to promise this House, you know, Mr. Speaker, when you want to seduce a girl, and the girl keeps on running away from you, you can always think about an alternative. So let people think that we don't have an alternative, Mr. Speaker. This idea of being pushed always, people thinking that it's like we can't. It's like we have said, and it has been said publicly, Mr. Speaker, Wiper is in NASA to stay. And for your information, if people play around, we will be kicking people out of NASA ourselves. We are original members of NASA. And let nobody think that we are subordinate. Mr. Speaker, we just demand respect. So if something has been decided, Mr. Speaker, there are the rules demanding. Let the rules be followed. But not abusing people because a name has been submitted. The fact that the name has come through Jubilee doesn't make Mheshimiwa Mumanyi become a Jubilee member. He's a Wiper member. And these members will be voting, Mr. Speaker. We will have the chance to vote. If you want to vote for Mumanyi, we are at liberty to do it. If you want to kick everybody out, we will kick everybody out. And my plea to honorable members is this, honorable members. The people we are going to put to the commission are our representatives. So if they cannot push for our interests, let's forget about what is happening outside this House. They will be representing us inside here and our offer. And I want to support the idea. If somebody is not up to the task, let them disappear. Some of us are even willing to take those positions. Yeah, it's not that the people are special in any way, but what members who can, commissioners who can champion the interest of members. That is my plea to honorable members. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the chance.
Order, members, order. You suddenly appear to have forgotten that you are not in a public rally. It's not. The only thing that I may wish to caution the Honorable Makali Mulu is that he talked about abusing and insulting. Please don't do it within the chamber. Those are the places, wherever it may be, you can hurl whatever words that you think are appropriate to describe your friends. Save, of course, I want to implore members to also appreciate that in the month of June last year, this House, as well as the other House, did pass the new Powers and Privileges Act. I want to encourage many of you to go through it. And as you go through it, also take time to look at the Leadership and Integrity Act of 2012. So that even what you are threatening to do, once you read those two acts, you will notice what is expected of you as a state officer or a public officer. And I'm saying this well knowing that The next order number 10 is about constituting members to the Powers and Privileges Committee. It's only fair that you go through it. You passed it. I suspect, since it was at the time when many of you are going for re-election, you might not have paid sufficient attention. Roman 1 provides that the four members shall come from the party or coalition of parties forming the national government. Roman 2 of that same article and clause provides that 3 members will come from parties not forming the national government. One of who shall be from either house, and another one to be of the opposite gender. The same is provided for the other 4, that 2 shall come from the National Assembly and the other 2 shall come from the Senate. If you recall, if you rewind, on the 14th of December, before this House went to recess, that matter was extensively debated here, until it got to a point where the party, which is a partner or a coalition partner in NASA, known as Wiper Democratic Movement Kenya, insisted that they are one such party that is qualified to a slot from among the 3, reserved to parties not forming the national executive. So we have to go to our standing orders. Who qualifies to be a party in the National Assembly? And in our standing orders, it is any party that has got more than 5% of the representation in the House. And at that time, I directed that, therefore, since Article 127(2)(c), Roman 2, does not, like Roman 1, provide for coalition, it is parties. I did direct, therefore, that either NASA sits as a coalition and agrees, or those parties that qualify provide names. And we did the calculation. And this is information which has been provided to the leader of the minority party and the minority whip. After the calculations, the Orange Democratic Party is entitled to, of the 3 slots, 1.78% of the 3. And the nearest to that is 2. Wiper Democratic Party is entitled to 0.48%. The next parties worthy mentioning in that category are the, what is it called, ANC something? Is it African? Amani. No. Amani National Congress, which is entitled to 0.31% of the 3. The next one is Ford Kenya, which is entitled to 0.26%. The others, which are fairly peripheral, entitled to 0.004. I think there are 2. There are some other 3 which are entitled to 0.002. That kind. So, working in the same manner that we worked for the nominations into Yala, the party that would take the other 1 slot remaining is the Wiper Democratic Party. And that's the formula which has been used. Now, as you recall, when this second session commenced, and the parties were again requested by the clerk to provide nominees, I got a request from the Honorable John Mbandi, the leader of the minority party in the National Assembly, to withhold processing of the names of the commissioners until the 19th of this month. That was Monday. In the meantime, on the 12th of this month, I did receive minutes and communication from Wiper Democratic Party, signed by Professor Kibuda Kibwana, chairman of Wiper Democratic Party, and Senator Judith Sijeni, Secretary General of Wiper Democratic Party, forwarding, and not just the name, the minutes and the resolution that Wiper Democratic Movement Kenya had nominated one Honorable Ben Momanyi to be their commissioner, in adherence to the provisions of Article 127(2)(c) Roman 2. Therefore, yesterday at the House Business Committee, a lot of argument took place, and everybody agreed that yes, Wiper Democratic Movement Kenya was entitled to that one slot. But there has been a dispute because through the Honorable John Mbandi, leader of the minority party in the National Assembly, he forwarded another name of a member of Wiper Democratic Party from the Senate. And after looking through at the two documents, it was indeed that copy of that coalition document was also forwarded by the Honorable Professor Kibwana. Indeed, if you read that Article 10 of that coalition document, it says, it provides very well. They were to share executive position in cabinet, which they never got. Yeah? But more importantly, clearly provides that the coalition was to share various leadership positions in legislatures. Positions such as leader of the minority party or majority party, if they were to have won, whips, chairs of the committees that will be available to the coalition. It is very clear in that Article 10 of the coalition agreement. As is a normal practice when House Business Committee meets, and indeed on every Thursday, the leader of the majority party in this House reads to the House the resolutions of the House Business Committee showing the business that is going to be available to the House for the coming week. And therefore, having agreed that there was need again last night to adjourn, but allow the Honorable John Mbandi, the Honorable Junet, the Honorable Makali Mulu to consult further their superiors, but provide the names by midday today, so that the leader of the majority party, on behalf of the House Business Committee, would give notice of motion of the names that he will have received. Indeed, I confirm that the names that I have received from Jubilee are the ones that were read out. The name that I have received from the Wiper Democratic Party through their chairman and secretary general is that of the Honorable Ben Momanyi. So I think it's only fair that we appreciate the procedures, that the leader of the majority party has not nominated the Honorable John Bandi, or indeed, even the names that he presented from his party. And indeed, that those names, all of them, will be before the House. It is for the House to make what it desires to do with them. That, I think, it's only fair that we put the record straight, that the Honorable Ben Momanyi has not been nominated by the leader of the majority party. The leader of the majority party moves several motions here on behalf of the House Business Committee. He gave notice about the various sessional papers that we have discussed on behalf of the House Business Committee. And that's what has happened. Unless, honorable members, you want to adopt a different procedure, which will then mean that we amend the standing orders. For the time being, until such amendment is moved and carried, we will continue moving in the manner that we have always moved, both in the last parliament and in this one. I thank you. So honorable members, I don't think whether there is any need for further clarification on this matter. Now, order, that notwithstanding, the request by the Honorable Jeanette, the minority whip, to submit the additional 2 names is allowed. But I thought the leader of the minority party did indicate that you don't have to go up to Tuesday. That according to him, it is something that he could resolve much faster. But nevertheless, if the names are provided by 12 o'clock tomorrow, I will authorize that a supplementary order paper be prepared, and a motion also the motion be moved in an amended form by the leader of the majority party, if the matter can be resolved. But if it isn't, the Honorable Junet requests that the names be provided by Tuesday. So we proceed. Sorry, honorable members, there are some members whose names I may not quite know very easily. So I see there's a member who is raising his hand up, but since I don't want to describe him. In the last parliament, I described a member and he never saw back, he never made it back. So I don't want to repeat that. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That is a member for Uriri.
Yes, sir.
Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Though you have substantively covered the topic on the issue of Parliamentary Service Commission, I just wanted to highlight something. I don't know whether it's me who didn't hear you very well. When you were doing your mathematics around how the slots actually have been shared, and you talked about ODM having about 1.78, and you rounded it off to 2, which is mathematically correct. And then you talked about Wiper having 0.48. When you actually round it off, it doesn't come to 1. So there's some inconsistency in that mathematics, and I want to challenge the House Business Committee. Having said that, you went further and said that ANC has around 0.3 something, and Ford Kenya about 0.2. If then you add the 2, if they are in concurrence, Mr. Speaker, you will actually realize that then Wiper might not even qualify for that very slot. I am afraid that if you proceed...
Now, just a minute. We are long past that. You'll learn that very soon with time. Once I have finished with that, it is impossible that it can be revisited. So, Honorable Nyamita, it is not a matter that we will even want to engage in. We used it for the nominations to Yala. Now, there's no point of that. We are not going. No, we don't. You cannot engage in an argument with the chair. Sorry, it never happens. The matter is over. It's over. So let's move to the next order.
Order number 8, motion, adoption of sessional paper number 3 of 2017 on the national policy on climate finance. Question to be put.
Honour members, yesterday, what remains is for me to put the question, which I hereby do, that this House adopts a sessional paper number 3 of 2017 on the national policy on climate finance, laid at the table of the House on Thursday, February 15th, 2018. Will as many as other opinions say aye? Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
Order number 9, the Warehouse Receipt System Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2018, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide a legal framework for the development and regulation of a warehouse receipt system for agricultural commodities, the establishment of the Warehouse Receipt System Council, and for connected purposes. Order number 10, motion, appointment of members to the Committee on Parliamentary Powers and Privileges.
Leader Majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Section 15, subsection 1A, Roman 2 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privilege Act 2017 and Standing Order 175, subsection 3, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Committee on Parliamentary Powers and Privilege, in addition to the one specified under Section 1A, Roman 1 of the said Act. And these members are the Honorable Anthony Gidaiga, MP, the Honorable Vincent Kipkirui Tuei, the Honorable Beatrice Pauline Cheruno, the Honorable Gladwell Cheriot, the Honorable Malimo Arbela, the Honorable Jude Jomo, the Honorable Dismas Wekesa Baraza Mtua, the Honorable Peter Mwathi, the Honorable Francis Chachuganya, the Honorable Omar Mwinyi, the Honorable Matthew Onyango Koyo, the Honorable Dan Mashako, the Honorable Vincent Kemosi, and the Honorable Andrew Mwadime. Mr. Speaker, the Committee of Powers and Privilege is a sessional committee. Thus, the need to reconstitute its membership annually. So every new session, this committee, the House Business Committee, and of course, the next one, which is the Welfare Committee, must be reconstituted. So that's why we are bringing these names afresh. Mr. Speaker, Section 15 of the Powers and Privilege Act 2017 provides for the Committee of Powers and Privilege. So we draw those powers to form this committee and the relevance of this committee from Section 15 of the Powers and Privilege Act of 2017. And that's the one the Speaker referred to, that I think we did a number of amendments and members need to embrace themselves. Speaker, this committee is chaired by the Speaker. And that's why in paragraph 1A, Roman 1 of the said act, it specifies who the chair is. So the chair of this committee is the Speaker. And it has 14 other members that are shared along party lines. What is the function of this committee, Mr. Speaker? One of the functions of this committee is to inquire into the conduct of a member whose conduct is alleged to constitute a breach of the privilege. So if your conduct, your behavior within the precinct of parliament is not in tandem with the privilege you enjoy, and it constitutes a breach of that privilege, then definitely you will appear before this committee. And this includes an assault within the President of Parliament if you obstruct. You remember in the 11th Parliament, there are times a section of members of Parliament wanted to obstruct the proceedings of the Speaker. So now if you dare obstruct the proceeding of the Speaker into the chamber and out of the chamber, then you will appear before this committee, Mr. Speaker. If you insult any member within the presence of Parliament, either at the bar, at the lounge, at the offices, within the presence of Parliament, you molest. And you know what molestation means. So these are the functions of that committee. And I'm sure we have picked members to this committee to make sure that they really help the House in enforcing the conduct of members and allow them to enjoy their privilege, but they should not have a breach of that privilege. Mr. Speaker, this committee can also summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence or providing information. For example, if there was an assault case in any of the premises within the prison of Parliament, and you are a member of Parliament, you are staff, and you happen to be there, this committee has the powers to summon you so that you can give your side of the story. This committee, Mr. Speaker, also has the powers to enforce the attendance of witnesses and do an examination under oath of affirmation. So you can be summoned and you put under oath, so those powers, they have it. They have the powers to compel any individual, any person, whether a member of Parliament, on the matter before them, to produce the documents that they need to deal with that matter. The Speaker, finally, this Powers and Privilege Committee has the powers to issue a commission or request to do an examination into a witness abroad. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important committee, and I'm sure as we start the new session of the 12th Parliament, let us make sure that we live by the title we hold, honorable members. The title honorable is not just a title. It's a title that you must live with it when you are within the President of Parliament and when you are outside the President of Parliament. You are a leader. We need to show example, Mr. Speaker, to the rest of the country that if you want to be respected, then let us make sure that you don't appear. And this happens. Very few times I have seen in the 10th Parliament and 11th Parliament that members are called to this committee. So it's your duty to make sure that you don't get involved in it. And make sure, because the alternative Chief Justice, Kajwang, is in the House. So if he organizes a purported swearing in of a member of Parliament, you know, your Honorable Chief Justice T.J. Kajwang can purport to do another swearing of a member of Parliament outside the presence of the chamber. So if you participate in that swearing in, then definitely you will appear before this committee. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, you know, T.J. Kajwang was in the Speaker's panel. He's a man I respect. And when you see him daring, it tells you he's not a coward. We have put him in the list of the men who can do anything when they believe in it. I beg to move and ask the minority leader to second.
Honorable Bandi. Sorry, honorable members, some
thank
of
you.
those things which are not here, even there's a famous place, maybe the slightly older members would know where it is located, called Jivaji Gardens. There's some regular gatherings, and in that place, there's somebody called the speaker, and he was sworn in by some others there. So we take that those are things which are not, we are dealing with other issues here. Honorable Bandi, you wanted to raise an issue?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion, which is number 10 on the order paper. Mr. Speaker, as the leader of majority rightly put it, just to clean it up, because, Mr. Speaker, some of the provisions in that act may actually, instead of promoting and enhancing the work of this parliament, may make MPs be like slaves in parliament. So, Mr. Speaker, I know there were some provisions that were included in this act towards the end of last parliament, which may be very offensive to these members of parliament. And I want to urge this committee, instead of just remaining idle to wait for members who misbehave, which may not be there, they can take also their time to look at, even without, I know Mr. Speaker, who is the chairman, is very busy. So you can delegate to your other members to take their time to be meeting, maybe often or regularly, to look at the act. Mr. Speaker, you can see NASA coalition is still very intact, despite all this which have taken place, including this afternoon in the House. We will remain intact. And I want to tell you that even in this committee, we have representation from WIPA, sponsored by NASA. And despite these disagreements, some of which my colleagues are enjoying, you will still find NASA very strong, going strong. We are a democratic coalition. That is why you hear a lot of our issues being discussed openly. I actually thank God that I don't belong to the other side where you are called somewhere and a list is being read that so and so is to be here. And if you dare joke and try any other game, even offering yourself to be chair of something, you would not be surprised if you are charged with fraud of 1 billion shillings when you have not even seen a million in your life. Mr. Speaker, that is why I am a very proud member of NASA Coalition. I'm a proud member of ODM, where even the leader of that party can still be challenged on the floor of the House, and no one will de-whip you the following day. I'm sure the way my members have challenged my position here, if my colleague the other side was challenged, the following day you would see members of his party being de-whipped. And not even ending there, Mr. Speaker, you would be dragged to as police alert on a Friday. They make sure you are arrested on a Friday afternoon, and until Monday, you did not see the light of the day again. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to just plead with my members from the NASA side that be very proud to be members of NASA in this House. No one will victimize you. We will criticize your actions if they are not good and not supporting the coalition cause, like some of us have been criticized, but still we will not victimize any member of NASA coalition. Not when I'm the minority leader. No member of NASA will be victimized for airing or expressing his ambition. Ambition is very normal, and I want to conclude by saying if you are in politics and you are not ambitious, then you have no business being in politics. So even Honorable Ben Momanyi, there is nothing wrong with showing your ambition, and we welcome it, but you should also listen to wise counsel from elders like myself, because Momanyi actually found me here. But finally, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Duale can't get away with this. Honorable Duale keeps on reminding me to behave like, and God rest his soul in peace, the late Francis Nyenze, and also Jakoyo Midiwo. And Mr. Speaker, Honorable Duale must know that I'm a very faithful and competent member of the Orange Democratic Movement Party and the NASA coalition. And I'm the chairman. I'm different from the people you are referring to. I have an extra responsibility to make sure that the policies of the party are adhered to, are respected, and I cannot just speak like any other person. I'm not any other person. I am Honorable John Mbadi.
This House passed the latest edition of the Powers and Privileges Act in the month of June, and the act came into force on 22nd of August last year. But as you know, there are some Kenyans who, in excess of their rights, went to court to challenge that act. And as we speak, there is in existence a conservatory order suspending the operations of sections 3, 7, and 11 of that act. Some of them deal with the service of civil processes on members within precincts, especially around with it to deal with section 11. And section 3 deals with the definition of what is the precincts of parliament. So even as we discuss this, I said earlier, please, I want to encourage you to look at these acts. And I want to agree with the Honorable John Mbadi that indeed the practice would be that unless none of these members whom you have given me is willing to deputize me, ordinarily, because of the many meetings that I expect this committee to hold, because there are issues to do with ethics, and you may find it necessary to have a separate committee dealing with ethics of members, which happens in very many other jurisdictions, so that this committee only deals with matters to do with privileges and immunity of members. I want to confirm to you, Honorable John Mbadi, that one of them will have to deputize because they have their work cut out. There's a lot to be done because of the requirements from other institutions dealing with matters to do with ethics of state and public officers. With that, honourable members, I propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of section 15, subsection 1, paragraph A, Roman 2, of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act 2017, and standing under number 175, subsection 3, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Committee of Parliamentary Powers and Privileges, in addition to one specified under paragraph 1, subsection 1, paragraph A, Roman 1 of the said act, who is the speaker anyway. So 1, the Honorable Anthony Gethiaka Kiai, MP. 2, the Honorable Vincent Kipkurui Tuwei, MP. 3, the Honorable Beatrice Pauline Cherono, MP. 4, the Honorable Gladwell Cheruiyot, MP. 5, the Honorable Marcelino Malimo Albere, MP. 6, the Honorable Jude Jomo, MP. 7, the Honorable Didmas Wekesa Barasa Mtua, MP. 8, the Honorable Peter Mwadhi, MP. 9, the Honorable Francis Chachuganya, MP. 10, the Honorable Omar Mwinyi, MP. 11, the Honorable James Matthew Onyango Koyo, MP. 12, the Honorable Dan Mashako, MP. 13, the Honorable Vincent Kemose, MP. And staff from Elgeyo Marakwet County, County who are on attachment observing the proceedings of the House. You're welcome. The Honorable Member for Rarienda. So the member for Rarienda.
Mr. Speaker, it was not my intention to speak to this, but to an earlier one. So I will only take this opportunity to suggest humbly that you may put the question.
Can I get an indication as to whether all those members who have put the request have nothing to say? Is it the case? So that nobody loses their chance to speak on account of having been picked. I have member for Suna East. Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to take the shortest time period. Mr. Speaker, I rose here last week addressing you on matters of privilege, Mr. Speaker. And unfortunately, that time, this committee was not in place, the sessional committee. And this is your committee, Mr. Speaker. And you remember I was talking about the issue of the privileges that are given to the members of the NASA leadership and the NASA MPs, Mr. Speaker, in terms of security. And even the leader of majority now, Mr. Speaker, is still footing. Doesn't have any car as the leader of majority, Mr. Speaker, and myself. So, Mr. Speaker, I was asking, can we refer this matter now to this committee under your leadership and give a timeline of 1 week, Mr. Speaker, to report back to the House, Mr. Speaker? Preferably next week, Tuesday, Mr. Speaker, so that we can discuss the report of the committee, Mr. Speaker. That is my Mr. Speaker.
So, honourable members, I take it that even though there are several requests, these are meant to be. Oh, I see. Therefore, if it's the desire of the House, honourable members, I therefore put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Section 15, subsection 1, paragraph A, Roman 2 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act 2017, and standing under number 175, subsection 3, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Committee of Parliamentary Powers and Privileges, in addition to the one specified under paragraph 1, subsection 1, paragraph A, Roman 1 of the same Act. The Honorable Anthony Gidiaka, KI MP, the Honorable Vincent Kipkurui, Tuwei MP, the Honorable Beatrice Pauline Cherono MP, the Honorable Gladwell Cheriot MP, the Honorable Marcelino Malimo Arbere MP, the Honorable Jude Jomo MP, the Honorable Didimas Wekesa Barasa Mtua MP, the Honorable Peter Mwadhi MP, the Honorable Francis Chachuganya MP, the Honorable Omar Mwinyi MP, the Honorable James Matthew Onyango Koyo MP, the Honorable Dan Mashako MP, the Honorable Vincent Kemose MP, and the Honorable Andrew Mwandime MP. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Honourable members, now that the committee is in place, I want to inform the members of that committee that they are expected to an inaugural meeting in the Speaker's boardroom on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. next Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Yes, the Honorable Junet wants the committee to start meeting, yes. But it can't, they have to meet under my chairmanship. And because of other engagements, I'm not able to meet them as you are suggesting. But they will meet. The Honorable James Koyo knows where we have always regularly met. He can lead the rest of the team. You can't be a friend of the committee. Not at the inaugural meeting. It's housekeeping and there's some other information for that committee. Yes, what's your point of honor, Honorable Ishongwa?
Chair, I wanted to ask whether it would be in order, Chair, even as you convene the inaugural meeting. Remember in the 11th Parliament, Mr. Speaker, there is a time we co-opted members who I remember we famously referred to in that committee as a Njuri Ncheke. And I wanted to request, Mr. Speaker, that there are very many members, of course myself included, Mr. Speaker, who diligently served in this committee in the 11th Parliament, and the Honorable Ali Wario, the Deputy Speaker, who is now privileged to to sit when probably you're not there, you can delegate that to him. But I wanted to request whether, because of the many issues relating to matters privilege, Mr. Speaker, you would kindly consider incorporating those of us who are elders in our own right in this committee. I don't know why the minority leader imagines being an elder has anything to do with age. It has to do everything to do with wisdom, Mr. Speaker, which those who are co-opted, and you remember, it was not on the basis of age. It was on the basis of the wisdom that would impact into that committee. And I want to request you to kindly consider, as you start work in this very important committee. I know some of us who are chairing other committees who could not be included in these committees, but do consider including us as Njuri Ncheke in that committee, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Well, they can only be included on need basis, isn't it? Yeah, on need basis. But it is good to allow the membership to first of all have this inaugural meeting and be able to also do their own calendar. We do not want any committee to be seen to be idle. There's no committee that can be idle. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work under that act. There's a lot of work under the Leadership and Integrity Act of 2012. And there's even work for this committee to make proposals as to which professions of the Public Office and Ethics Act of 2003 that may need to be incorporated into the Powers and Privileges Act and then repeal that earlier act. So I think there's a lot of work for this committee to do, even before dealing with issues of immunity, discipline, and such like. You know, you remember that in the last parliament, those issues were quite many. I have a feeling that we could have a lot more this time. But even besides that, I think there's already, I've gone through the work plan, and there's already a lot that this committee will be able to do. So members of the committee, James Koyo, Tuesday, 9:30 a.m., please. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, appointment of members to the Committee on Members' Services and Facilities.
Leader of the majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Ichung'wah has no specific talent and expertise in serving in that committee as Njuri Ncheke. The members from Jubilee and NASA are qualified. They can handle any matter, including the ones that are going to be raised by the minority leader. And I agree with him, Mr. Speaker, issues of privilege, which he raised on the floor, can be addressed by this committee now. But you must go with the proper evidence, and you hire the services of the Chief Justice, the promoted Chief Justice and renowned lawyer, Honorable Otiende Omolo. They can help you argue your case. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of... Mr. Speaker, those who are in the 10th Parliament, Honorable Bandi and the rest will agree. It's good members to read the Privilege and Powers and Privilege Act. It will save you one day. He's not in the House now, but Honorable Member for Yatta, Charles Kilonzo, and myself, the Speaker tabled a report in the 10th Parliament. And we were told to, to appear before the Committee of Defense and Foreign Relations. It was about ICC. And at one evening, the Speaker wrote us a letter to appear before that committee. And you know, we went and read that act. And we wrote a long letter to the Speaker saying that our immunities and our privilege and the powers do not allow you. So we will give our evidence on the floor of the House. So it's good, as you kept on saying, we should read. On this committee, Mr. Speaker, we want the members to help Parliament. There are many things, how the gym is run, how our food, how the facilities are run, and we want them to help the Speaker, who is the chair of PSC, and the commissioners that we are going to constitute in the days to come. So this is a very, very important committee, just like the powers and privilege, and I am sure the men and women in this committee are up to the task. They will leave a mark that during their tenure, the welfare, the facilities of the House have greatly improved. And Mr. Speaker, with your support and the support of the clerk and other officers of this House, I am sure the 12th Parliament Members Service and Facilities Committee will change how things are run within the confines of Parliament. I beg to move and ask the second minority whip, Honorable Junet, is serving as the second person to hold that office. And the Speaker is lying. Honorable Mbandi drives one of the best four-wheel Land Cruisers in the House. So he doesn't work. He's my neighbor. He's my neighbor. So don't, when you say he walks, the people of his constituency will wonder what is going on. So Honorable Mbandi is not missing that vehicle. He's entitled to by his office, but he's not missing it. I'm sure he doesn't walk to Kembu Road where we live with him. It's a long distance. And Honorable Junet, you need to tell him that, yes, there's democracy, but language, Honorable Mbandi, language. Language, you don't call your colleagues dogs. The language. That one you need to withdraw from the Hansard. So I ask Honorable Junet, the great member of Suna East, to second, because he was a member of the House Business Committee when we made this decision last night.
Member for Suna East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to second the motion. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important committee. Mr. Speaker, members' welfare and facilities, Mr. Speaker. And in last Parliament, on our side of NASA, Mr. Speaker, that time we used to be called COD, last Parliament. The main man who was representing us, Mr. Speaker, in that committee was Honorable Washington Jakoyo Midiu. And we felt that the best Qataras maybe are from that constituency. We decided to bring the guy who replaced him, the honorable member who replaced him, to the same committee, Mr. Speaker. Because I think they know how to cook good cassava, Mr. Speaker. And he talked to me as a whip and told me I must be in that committee, Mr. Speaker. The honorable who replaced Honorable Jakoyo Midiu, Mr. Speaker. So a member of the committee. Mr. Speaker, this committee, Mr. Speaker, a member of parliament, after he leaves his home, 6 o'clock or latest 7, Mr. Speaker, basically lives in this parliament, Mr. Speaker, up almost 9, 10 p.m. at night, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the facilities that are here, Mr. Speaker, in this country, it is only members of parliament who cannot speak about their welfare and their facility, Mr. Speaker. We have been made, Mr. Speaker, a group of people, I don't know whether we were supposed to work for free for the country, Mr. Speaker. I don't know whether we are not supposed to have any privilege at all, Mr. Speaker. When you go to government offices, Mr. Speaker, at a level that are lower than us, Mr. Speaker, the kind of tea that you are served, Mr. Speaker, in that office. And it's a small man, he's just a director of something, Mr. Speaker. He tells you, which type of tea do you want? He has 3 varieties of tea, Mr. Speaker. And here in Parliament, Mr. Speaker, you are served tea that I normally call tea ya matanga. You know, tea. Mr. Speaker, you know, matanga tea, the milk is very small. It is just white by semblance, Mr. Speaker. The color is just white, but you can see, you know, maziwa imenusa, chai. Mr. Speaker, that is the kind of tea, Mr. Speaker, you drink here. But when you go, Mr. Speaker, to other offices, Mr. Speaker, and this fete.
Honorable Junet, when you want to mix the 2 languages, you say in quotes, so that you are not captured in the Hansard as using Swahili and English interchangeably.
That's right, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we basically stay in these premises, Mr. Speaker, the precinct of Parliament, for a whole day, more than 12 hours, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we were suffering under humiliation because, Mr. Speaker, people think members are given a lot of allowances, a lot of salaries, there is a lot of food. Nowadays, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the parliament that you served as a whip, and this one is different, Mr. Speaker. Here, when it comes to lunchtime, Mr. Speaker, you queue like a high school to get food, Mr. Speaker. They are calling it buffet, but that's how we used to queue at Lenana School, Mr. Speaker, in the dormitory, Mr. Speaker. that the queue is as long as 30 people. You don't know where you're going to reach the plate or the sofria which has the food. Sometimes you have to leave it midway because the bell of the house rings, 2:30. Mr. Speaker, so you have to put the plate down and say, the speaker has gone to the house, Mr. Speaker. In quotes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, all this is with a light touch, Mr. Speaker, because, Mr. Speaker, members, we are here debating roads bill, for example, today in the evening, Mr. Speaker. This road bill we are debating, Mr. Speaker, is going to help this country, Mr. Speaker, develop their roads. Without this bill, there will be no roads, Mr. Speaker. But I have to be facilitated within this precinct, Mr. Speaker, for me to be able to have the environment, the conducive environment for me to legislate, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want this new committee not only to do their meetings at 1 o'clock as they do, Mr. Speaker. This committee does their meetings only at 1 o'clock, especially near the dining hall, the small dining hall, Mr. Speaker. You will hear a text message. We have members' welfare and facility meeting 1 o'clock, Mr. Speaker. Your guess is as good as mine. It's for free lunch, Mr. Speaker. But they can have that, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, they must report back to this office, to this House, Mr. Speaker, to tell us how they want to improve the welfare and the facility of this Parliament, Mr. Speaker. It is not the responsibility of the Speaker.
Has seen over 41 kilometers. For the first time in the history of Kenya, the road between Garissa, Modogash, heading to Wajir, is 85% complete. Speaker, today you can drive from here to Isiolo, to Moyale, to Marsabit. Speaker, the road from Lamu to Malindi, even in Kilifi, the road from Malindi town to Bamba, all the way to Savo. Speaker, go to Bondo, where the former Prime Minister comes from. You will never see a road which is not tarmacked. Mr. Speaker, go to any part, even Equity for the first time. I am sure in Western Province. I wish the whip was here. So, Mr. Speaker, over 10,000, the three successive governments built 14,000 kilometers of road network. This government has so far done 9,000 kilometers. Speaker, give the devil, well, and Mr. Speaker, that is the reason why the people of Kenya in their numbers, on the 8th of August, they woke up and they gave this side of the House over 217 members. And the Speaker denied the so-called people's leadership less than 127 members. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, again put together, they gave the single largest political party called Jubilee 170 kilometers. Mr. Speaker, we must, to discuss the road bill, Mr. Speaker, we must discuss the successive government of the Parliament.
The Honorable Kajwang, what is out of order?
At least you're not swearing me in.
Mr. Speaker, you know, we are very patient and we are waiting to contribute very substantively on the roads bill. But when issues are branded around which cannot be substantiated, we have to rise and ask for these things to be substantiated. Mr. Speaker, sir, 9,000 kilometers of roads is the distance you go to central England and back. You travel, go to England and come back. Is majority party leader in order to say that Jubilee government, or whatever it is that he calls it, has built roads for 9,000 kilometers. If he is able to substantiate that there are roads in this country that can stretch as far as Nairobi to England and back during the period only limited to when Uhuru took power, not the period of Kibaki, which is a NAC government. Mr. Speaker, is he in order and can he substantiate?
Very well, the Honorable Kajwang, the leader of majority has said he can do that. But I think that is a matter of metrology. But the leader of majority, you said you could do that?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Right. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I am one member of Parliament and a leader who say what I know. Mr. Speaker, when I say 9,000 kilometers of road that have been done, and I really want my colleague to pick a pen and a paper. The road from here, from Isiolo to Moyale, is close to 1,000 kilometers. The road that we are doing between Garissa to Wajir is about 800. And by the time we reach Mandera, it will be 1,500. The roads we are doing in Coast Province add up to about 1,000 plus. The roads we are dealing in Western, about to 500. Mr. Speaker, if you cumulatively add all those, they will add up to 90. And Mr. Speaker, they will have their chance. But Mr. Speaker, the truth of the matter is this.
Members, I think what we are doing here, the leader of majority, just 1 minute. What we are doing here, we are moving, he's moving the motion
Yes.
on the road speed.
Yes.
Everybody is going to have an opportunity to speak to
Yes.
this. You can say everybody will have their say.
Yes.
Let him finish.
Yes.
Let him finish. You will have a chance to have your say on what he is putting here.
Speaker,
So,
they say,
leader of majority, please
they
proceed.
say the truth hurts. People don't want to hear the truth, Mr. Speaker. But I want to confirm, and I want to go on record, that one of the reasons why on the 8th of August, the people of Kenya decided to give Uhuru Kenyatta and his government the overwhelming support in the Senate, in the National Assembly, in the counties, and in the presidential elections is because of the investment in infrastructure. From the standard gauge railway to the 9,000 kilometer of road network to the 3 million extra Kenyans, 3 million extra Kenyans who have been connected to power and water, to thousands of Kenyans. Our achievement speaks for itself. Our achievement is what made us have 170 members of parliament and Honorable TJ's party, which at one time, Mr. Speaker, I was a member of in the 10th parliament, which had the highest number of MPs, today is surviving with less than 80 members of parliament. So, Speaker, every political party must reassess itself after every election. Mr. Speaker, to gag his memory, the Labour Party of UK, many years, couldn't get to leadership under the leadership of a man called Neil Kinnock. And they made a decision and they removed him and put Tony Blair. And that's how they took power. Our colleagues need to do a soul searching. It's not about political rhetoric. The people of Kenya want to see tangible development like roads. And I really want this House and its committee under the able leadership of Honorable Proceedings and the able leadership of Minister C.S. Macharia to make sure each and every part of our country, regardless of where they voted, they must access a certain portion of a red network. Mr. Speaker, let us differentiate between politics and development. We in Jubilee believe in politics of development. We have no time for politics of ethnic mobilization. We have no time for politics of regional, caucusing. We have no time for politics of hate, politics of fitina, in quotes. We want to set an agenda that generations to come, and Uhuru Kenyatta has said it, and in fact I saw the media saying members of Parliament of Jubilee have been gagged. We have not been gagged, but we want to speak on the choice we want. We want to speak on development. We don't want to speak on ethnic politics. We don't want to speak on propaganda. We will speak to the media and we will speak to the people of Kenya on development agenda. Mr. Speaker, this bill is so critical, is so important. Mr. Speaker, members will agree with me. One of the most amazing things is that this House allocates over 30 billion to road maintenance. And a certain percentage to fuel levy to county governments. Speaker, we really want to synergize all these resources. That when you drive on our highways, the Speaker, we have less potholes, because that 30 billion or so must be spent. And we are a government that believes in equity. Whether you voted for us or not, you are a taxpayer, you will get a road. My good friend, the member for Mwingi Central, me and him enjoy a wide range of a road, all the way from Thika to my constituency. And over 10, 20 constituencies go through that road. We rarely get potholes. And when we get potholes, we ask the Kenya guys to do it. If you travel from here, the Nairobi-Mombasa highway is being transformed into 8-lane dual carriage, funded by the Kenya government and donors. The road from Nairobi to Thika, from Thika to Murang'a to Nyeri is being dual carriage. The Nakuru-Nairobi highway is already under construction for dual carriage. For those who have eyes, they can see. Those who have ears, they can hear. But those who are blind, they will never see. Those who have no ears to hear, you can as well remain where you are. But we are telling you, Kenya is going places. Kenya is developing under the able leadership of one Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, William Ruto. With those many remarks, Speaker, I need to go and have the tea in quotes of the Matanga and the Mandazi, and ask Honorable Chair of, able Chair of Transport to second.
The Honorable Kosi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to second the motion and also to second my leader of majority. And Mr. Speaker, for avoidance of any doubt, I want to also tell TJ, he can also come to my committee. I can confirm to you that what majority leader said is actually very accurate. So, and I'm around, Honorable Kajwang, to help you. You know, one time when you are speaker, you helped me to do certain things which you know. I will tell you later. So we are good friends. So don't harass our leader of majority. Mr. Speaker, as I second the motion and the bill, Mr. Speaker, what is very critical on the onset, Mr. Speaker, is to say that the role of chairman of the committee, specific committees, and for this case, my committee, Mr. Chairman, is to share with the House and the people of Kenya what the public said during public participation in terms of capturing their views, capturing their observations, Mr. Speaker, so that then the House, when it's debating on it, they are debating with knowledge of what the public said, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before then I delve into that very quickly, I will also take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to thank my committee and say, for the record, Mr. Speaker, that this is the first committee in the 12th Parliament to present a properly done report. It is history, Mr. Speaker, because in record, this is the first report to be discussed, was tabled properly in the 12th Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I thank my able committee for doing that. Mr. Speaker, before I say a few observations from the public, Mr. Speaker, it is good to know and to tell the nation and honorable members that this bill, Mr. Speaker, is trying to address three things very critically. Number one is to actualize fourth schedule of the Constitution in terms of saying which roads will go to the counties and which roads shall be national. And this is very critical, Mr. Speaker, and I want to ask members maybe to check at the third schedule of this bill, Mr. Speaker. It is very important to say this so that when I am going to give the reaction from the public, then you will mirror that with what's actually in the bill. Mr. Speaker, and if you see that schedule, Mr. Speaker, in terms of assigning the roads, you see that, Mr. Speaker, national government has been given classes S, A, B, H, J, C, and D, Mr. Speaker. Those are now the roads which are supposed to be for, or proposed in the bill to be, then under national government. And for county government, Mr. Speaker, it begins from E, it goes all the way in the bill, if you look at that first schedule of the bill, it goes all the way, Mr. Speaker, to P. And that is in realization, Mr. Speaker, or actualizing fourth schedule of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, so that we reduce this conflict, we reduce this anomaly or misunderstanding, Mr. Speaker, of what then are roads for national government, what then are roads for county government. If you look at it critically, Mr. Speaker, you find that those classes have been given description, which somebody might say definitions. But actually, Mr. Speaker, we take it from our committee as functions of those roads so that they can be understood, Mr. Speaker, by all members. That is the first and very critical function that this bill was trying to address, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it also goes on to assign responsibilities on who to do what. And this is very important, Mr. Speaker, for the House to appreciate. And from clause 12, Mr. Speaker, you find that agencies have been created, but to perform certain specific functions in terms of doing the roads. And it is important, Mr. Speaker, for the House to appreciate that 4 agencies have been created. One, Mr. Speaker, here is called KENSRA. And KENSRA, Mr. Speaker, for honorable members to understand, it used to be KURA. KERA. So KERA has been renamed KENSRA. And if you go further, Mr. Speaker, you see KENA. KENA remains KENA, but in a new description. You go forward, you will find that KURA, Mr. Speaker, has been renamed KENURA in this bill, Mr. Speaker. So a member should get used to these words so that as we debate, Mr. Speaker, and as we pray that it's passed, then we understand them. Also, there is Kenya Roads Board, Mr. Speaker, and assigning of those roads. Mr. Speaker, it is good to understand, because I know KERA is at the heart of honorable members. It is a very critical, and I know they will ask me to go quickly to there. But before I go there, Mr. Speaker, you find that in the bill, this is how the roads have been assigned to those agencies in the bill. That classes S, A, and B, Mr. Speaker, is under KENA. And KENA shall remain in the same name, KENA, although it will be a new agency. And then, Mr. Speaker, if you go forward, you find that classes H and J has been assigned to what was KURA, but in this case now it's called KENURA. H and J. And then, Mr. Speaker, the bill is proposing then KENSRA, which was KERA, to remain with C and D. And then counties, Mr. Speaker, will then begin from E going downwards until classes P, Mr. Speaker. This is very critical, Mr. Speaker. As we debate later, you will find that it is important to have said that. The third and final thing that this bill is trying to attempt to do, Mr. Speaker, is to divide revenue, which is coming from, which is also, of course, coming from maintenance levy, Mr. Speaker. And if you look at that revenue, and it's important for members to appreciate the revenue, so that when we are discussing and we are looking at what is happening, then we will know. Mr. Speaker, the bill has proposed the share of revenue, which is of course coming from maintenance levy, Mr. Speaker. For example, Kenya has been proposed to have 35%. KERA has been proposed to have 30%. KURA 10%. Counties 15%. KWS 1%. CS 6%. KRB 1%. NTSA 1%, Mr. Speaker. If you add all that one, it comes to 100, Mr. Speaker. And that resource is coming from what we call maintenance levy. So, Mr. Speaker, the bill went to the public, and then we asked the public to make their submissions on what do they think about the bill in those proposals. And as it has been said by my leader, Mr. Speaker, this bill was considered in the last parliament. Of course, it died somewhere where he said, but it has come back to us. This is the best opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to address it properly. And in my view, as a chairman of the Roads Committee, Mr. Speaker, I think it is very good that it came back. There are certain issues that these members will discuss, and they will realize that it was good for this bill to come back to wait for us. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we are discussing it at the best time in history of this country. We are going to budget, Mr. Speaker, you know that. We have already started budget policy. It is good that we pass this bill, Mr. Speaker, before June, the real budget, so that this country, Mr. Speaker, shall be very clear in terms of what goes to the counties, what then remains to national government, and what goes to all these agencies. So, Mr. Speaker, what did the public say or told this parliament on this bill? So the bill went for public participation as it is required by the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And we received views from the public. Some of them gave them memoranda. Some of them requested to appear before our committee. And we gave them opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to then come So the first one, which I will say, which is in our report, Mr. Speaker, is the Council of Governors. And again, Mr. Speaker, it is history. Governors have never appeared in any committee of National Assembly. It is true. It is the last Parliament, Speaker, you remember there was a lot of acrimony in this country. We were fighting who is more powerful than the other between ourselves and governors. I want to thank God, Mr. Speaker, as I make this presentation, that this year looks to be that there is a lot of harmony and understanding between two levels of government, that's national government and counties government, Mr. Speaker. And they took an opportunity, and I want us to take this forward. And the report, Mr. Speaker, which is a report of my committee, is a testimony of that kind of synergy, trying to come back together. And I think this is the best for the country. There's no need to fight with governors. I was asking them, why were we fighting? And some of them are saying, maybe we didn't know what we were supposed to do. Now everybody knows their role, Mr. Speaker. So to say, they came to us on 30th of January 2018, Mr. Speaker, and among other things that they told us, Mr. Speaker, I picked 3 issues that came outstanding from their presentation. One, Mr. Speaker, is yes, Mr. Thank
Chair,
you, Mr.
you
Speaker.
have, you know you have 30 minutes. You've
Yes, I
just
have
done
30
10.
minutes. And in fact, it was agreed yesterday, Mr. Speaker, that when chairs are taking this bill, that we are given more time.
I'm saying you have 30 minutes, you have just done 10.
Yes, and even more than
So
30
you
minutes,
have
Mr.
20
Speaker, you'll
more.
give me. Because this is a very critical organ of the House to share the public views. Remember, Mr. Speaker, people have gone to court to challenge our bills, and they have succeeded by saying that there was no sufficient public participation. We must address the issues that came from the public so that this Parliament is known to have done its work in terms of public participation, Mr. Speaker. So, we received our governors, and this was represented by Governor Nyandarua, Honorable Kimemia, and Honorable Jamong from the great people of Busia. And what we picked from their presentation, Mr. Speaker, are 3 key issues that came out outstanding. One, Mr. Speaker, was to deal with consultation. They were asking in a number of clauses in this bill, Mr. Speaker, that they wanted to see consultation between then national government and the county's government, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, which we also picked, they were also arguing, Mr. Speaker, that there is no need to have Kera, which is now Kensra in this bill, and Kura, that Kura and Kera should be disbanded, Mr. Speaker, and that money should be taken to themselves as county. Of course, now, then they proposed their revenue to raise from 15% to 53%, Mr. Speaker. That was what came from them. They also proposed to our committee, Mr. Speaker, that road class H, which I just said earlier, that it was supposed, or it was proposed in the bill, to go with the Kura, that road class H and the D from Kera should be taken to counties. Mr. Speaker, you'll see as I present later our observation, but little bit to address our observation at this stage, particularly on public participation, Mr. Speaker, our committee was of the opinion that this word public participation, this word consultation, Mr. Speaker, has been misused. And it's very amorphous, because what do you say public participation? Is it to write a letter and wait for reply? And wait for reply for how long, for example? Is it a phone call? And who will own up? And even if you write a letter in terms of consultation, must the return be positive or negative? What is it? And we found that, Mr. Speaker, if you go that way, then 2 things can happen. There will be delay in implementation of projects, Mr. Speaker. Because then, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for somebody to give you opinion or to say yes. What about if you wait forever? And we say that is dangerous, Mr. Speaker, particularly in the road sector. In infrastructure sectors, Mr. Speaker, you want work to be done quickly. The people of Kenya does not want or to hear who is talking to who. They want to see a road. The way these honorable members have been arguing, Mr. Speaker. They want to see a road, not who is talking to who is writing to who, at what time, or which language, whether English or Kiswahili. So we saw that, Mr. Speaker, will delay projects. Number 2, it will result into what we may call micromanagement, Mr. Speaker. It is dangerous. The counties might micromanage national government, or the national government also can micromanage counties. So we realize that, Mr. Speaker, that will be addressed properly under public participation, which is provided for in the Constitution. So we listened to them, Mr. Speaker, and I'll give you our observation, general observation letter. Then we received comments and presentation from Kenya National Highway Authority. Kenya National Highway Authority, of course, Mr. Speaker, you know that is Kenya. And they made the presentation very well to us. We picked some issues from them, critical issues that came from that public participation, which is number one, Mr. Speaker, that they want the framework of PPP, public-private partnership, to be well anchored in law, Mr. Speaker. And that goes together with the tolling infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, when you look at this field and the industry we are in, it is a capital investment, Mr. Speaker. And if we were to deal or to continue with Exchequer, we will not get the resources even to build more than 10,000 that Jubilee had promised, Mr. Speaker, and are done 9,000. And this country, even if we do 10,000, Mr. Speaker, this country requires more roads. Like our network now is about 170,000, 180,000 going forward. If you say even 10,000 out of 170,000 network, Mr. Speaker, when shall we reach 170,000? We are only talking about 10,000. We require resources. But if we are to depend on Exchequer, we'll have a problem, Mr. Speaker. We'll wait for roads forever. We don't want to go that way. That is why Kenya, in its wisdom, proposed that we get into this bill those issues of public PPP and tolling, Mr. Speaker. Of course, they suggested that, you know, the 35% that has been proposed in the bill, they wanted more. Of course, they wanted 40 and above, Mr. Speaker. So we listened to them. On 30th again, Mr. Speaker, we also, but I want to clarify the governors. After presenting to us, Mr. Speaker, there's something crucial for this committee, for the House to understand. After governors presenting to us, and we replied to them a little bit in terms of discussion, they went back, Mr. Speaker. Because we argued with them and told them, if you want to scrap Kera and Kura, is that your problem? Suppose you are given your roads as counties, and then the roads that remain with national government, the national government can decide who will do. And we gave them an example and say, if somebody wants to name his children or her children Kena or Kera, what does that have to do with you? Because those roads are already in national government. They can name their children the way they want. And then you have also been given an agency in this bill, you can also name the way you want. And I think, Mr. Speaker, they might have taken that one from us, and they went back, Mr. Speaker, and had another meeting. Now this time under IBEC. And IBEC, Mr. Speaker, is of course higher than, of course, where they were. And they had joint communique, which I want to present to the House. It is in our report, Mr. Speaker, very, very critical. They also had a communique, a joint communique, signed by here, HE Governor Anne Waiguru, EGH, Vice Chair of Council of Governors, and also with my minister, Mr. Speaker. They also signed that communique. Meaning that then their proposals become even more stronger. So what they did, Mr. Speaker, in this communique, and I think they agreed that IBEC, of course you know what IBEC means, Mr. Speaker. They wrote to us in our committee, Mr. Speaker, and now reviewed some of their proposals, earlier proposals. One of them was the revenue share. They had proposed 53%. And we justified, how do you get 53%? They said, scrap Kura and scrap Kera. And then take all the monies to count this. Of course, after reasoning with them, they realized that, of course, Kura and Kera are children of national government. It depends on how they name. So when they saw that we were going to retain them, Mr. Speaker, they went back and agreed and reviewed it back to 20%, Mr. Speaker. That then they require 20% to be able to implement their roads. They also went and they seem to have reviewed the classification of roads which they wanted. I had said earlier, Mr. Speaker, they had said they wanted H and J. I mean H and D. They went and reviewed and proposed that this time they are okay with D, not H. Then H can remain with national government. So that was their proposal, Mr. Speaker, which is very crucial and critical for this House to understand. So we received Kenya, as I've just said, and I've picked their critical issues, Mr. Speaker, for the House and for honorable members to understand. And they said the revenue should go up. Of course, from what they had, what they have seen proposed here, 35%, they went to 40. And when the governors met, Mr. Speaker, under IBEC, and they proposed and agreed, even with my ministry, or our ministry, that their resources should move to 20, they also proposed where they want to get the money. And of course, they were aiming at Kera. And they said earlier, which is in the bill, should come from Kera. And you'll see what will be our observation later. Mr. Speaker, and then we, next on the line was Kenya Urban Roads Authority. They appeared before the committee, Mr. Speaker, and they made their presentation. Very good presentation from them, Mr. Speaker. Among things that we picked critical from their memoranda and verbal discussion with us, Mr. Speaker, was about, again, public-private partnership. Because, you know, these are town roads. These are city roads, Mr. Speaker. They are very critical in this country for economic and for even our transportation. But they require a lot of money, Mr. Speaker, to be able to construct. And therefore,
in our policy implementation. And lastly, still on the design of the road, someone else, an honorable member said, if you go to most of these hospitals, most of the people there are victims of accidents, especially our border people. The border-borders are in this country to stay. How are we designing our roads to make sure that they're not designed the same way when you don't have these border-borders? So can we have a way, a lane for them, for example? The way we have a pedestrian, because now if you go to most roads in Nairobi, in cognition that most people in the estates will want to take a walk in the evening, have a pedestrian lane at the end. So could you also have probably a lane or somewhere specifically for our border riders? So they can end up doing their business, the PSV can end up doing, carrying their passengers, and the private and the trucks can go on doing their business. But until we get the planning stage right in the way we do things in this country, then we again have this accident, we come here with a motion, we come here with a bill, but today we have a chance to make sure that it is corrected long before it is enacted. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and God bless you.
Yes, Honorable Musiri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I appreciate you giving me the chance to be able to contribute to this very important bill. I appreciate your fairness since I stepped out at the time that you called me. We also appreciate and we also request that you actually extend the fairness also on, as you had said, you indicated that you'll go to the government side and then come to the opposition. So
that is exactly what guides the chair.
Before me, I do not wish to engage the chair, but before me, two people spoke, and I request that we continue. So first of all, I wish to appreciate my chairman, the chairman of the Transport Committee for the commendable job they have done. The chairman indicated that he was actually a CEO for 4 years, and I wish to point out he was a CEO for the 4 years, courtesy of the former Vice President, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, through the appointee, having been a member of ODM Kenya at that time, elected at that time in 2007. This is a very important bill, and one of the things that has us, that we need to also, put, especially on the national government, on the national roads for Kenya, is to consider, make sure, as indicated previously, that make sure that the Mombasa road, from Mombasa all the way to Busia should be dual. There is no question about it. The importance of that road is, I don't even know why we should even be deliberating or even talking about it here. The second thing is we should be putting, truck stop.